Episode 1 of Cedar Coves saw the beginning of my biggest Planet Coaster project ever. Then in episode 2 the park got its landmark attraction over the entrance, a B&M wing coaster. Now in episode 3 the park's second coaster is here, and it's definitely not Alpenfury. Welcome back to Cedar Cove. It's episode 3 time, and I said this was going to be a premiere you didn't want to miss. And I wasn't just talking about the video, I was talking about the coaster. You can't actually see it just yet, which is surprising with how tall it is. I've also added new entrance signs. I really didn't like the old ones, they were definitely placeholders, so I'm quite happy to have replaced those now. But the approach to the park, you can see a very low poly version of the Premier Rides coaster. Obviously you've seen it in the thumbnail, you know what it mostly looks like, and the members will have seen lots of photos of this over the past few weeks, but I'm really happy with this coaster. I built it in, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours. Custom supported it over the course of a couple more hours, and yeah, it literally came together completely accidentally. I wanted a coaster for this plot of land pretty early on in the park. I knew exactly what type of coaster I wanted after becoming pretty obsessed with Alpenfury at Canada's Wonderland. Look at that. I knew I wanted to do something really similar to it, but yeah, with this piece of land in mind, this plot that I decided on the coaster for, I knew it had to be a really big statement piece, just like Antonio's wing coaster from the previous episode, that like makes the skyline in this park be pretty instantly recognizable and iconic, and I knew I wanted it to be something similar to that, so I hope I've achieved that. I'm really happy with the way that it looks. It is quite an iconic like first element, I suppose. I think Antonio's coaster's coming. Sorry, I got distracted. I usually try when I'm building coasters to make one iconic element, kind of like the fly-through element there, like on Antonio's coaster. So that was my like one iconic element there. Not really a gimmick, but sort of in a way similar idea, where it's like that one element of the coaster that everyone recognizes it by. Like obviously Stealth, it's its top hat. Hyperia, it's the drop. Smiler doesn't really have one actually, it's just all of it. But yeah, like quite a few of the big record breaker coasters in the world, like King Dakar, obviously that's the top hat. Yeah, they've got like a recognizable element that sort of makes them stand out and unique, and that's what I want to do with this one. And the coaster kind of goes all around the back of this area and really encloses like a bit of a part in the middle. You'll see when we go into the aerial view that the coaster is kind of in a big L shape. It's very out and back layout, and I wanted to do that to like enclose an area, to sort of make it like its own area that it'll contain. I've put this like little bund around it that's kind of, it would be created from the soil and earth that they've removed from doing those footers, but like when you stood at the bottom of it, it just looks huge. I mean, it is a big coaster, but like it's massive from this level. It's really crazy. I'm happy with the layout as well. It's a pretty relentless layout. There's a couple of bits I'm not too happy with, but yeah, it's realistic, I suppose. Not every coaster is completely perfect. Oh, nice view there. I've also added, once I stop getting distracted about Antonio's coaster. Is it going to come? No. I added that little food unit that you've just seen there, but look at the coaster go past it. It's so cool. I'm really, really happy with it. You will lead down into the area from multiple different pathway routes, but this will be probably the closest one to the entrance. I'm going to extend that path underneath that first inversion there. So it does launch out the station, very similar to Alpenfury, straight into its second launch, up that gigantic like first feature element. It's really crazy. It's sort of like an Immelman, but with inversions, and then this element here is the element that Alpenfury has as its big turnaround, but it's the opposite way. So it's like you enter and exit it from the opposite side. You'll get a better view of it when I come around the other side of the coaster in aerial view in a minute. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it sits on the skyline. And I really do love how it just sits in the existing skyline of the park that we've got already. The colours for the actual coaster track were just completely accidental. I was just messing around with the the like track colour and the supports, I think it just works out quite well. So I will run through the layout. You do launch into that inversion straight away, then into the second main launch up this gigantic element, which I'm really happy with the custom supports for this. I think they're really cool. So yeah, it does kind of like rise up like an element, but does like a full inversion at the top and then spirals back down. But yeah, the custom supports on this were really fun to do. Quite a lot of references from other Premier Rides coasters, but also a few references you'll see later on from Steel Curtain, the one at Kennywood. So yeah, this is the element here that is the same turnaround element that was on Alpenfury, but you take it in the opposite direction. It's really weird. It like rises up as if it's going into a top hat, but twists, inverts, and then like stalls out on its side, and then obviously like spirals back down to the ground. Oh, come on, camera work. So yeah, you can see that first element in action there. Really happy with that. The speed of it's perfect. Dives back down, goes into this very strange element that I think would give some like weird sideways hang time. Dives back down, a really quick kind of like elongated corkscrew, then overbank turn, and then this is sort of into the Steel Curtain at Kennywood section, where it rises into an airtime hill that is over a stall, uses all the same support structure, does a dive loop, then does that stall underneath that airtime hill you just went over. Really happy with the way that this turned out. The custom supports are quite cool. Where my cursor is at the moment, that will be the entrance, another entrance to this area. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how the supports turned out on this one, and then it does go slightly under the ground, which is why I've put these concrete parts. But yeah, happy with the profile in that stall. Then you have a couple of like tight switchback turns, goes really close to a support there, and you get a really nice sort of elongated corkscrew again, sort of inline, not really an inline twist, like a long Mosasaurus roll, then an airtime hill and a hop up into the brakes, and that's it. It is only running 2 trains at the moment. I don't know whether I will switch that to 3, but the operations do seem pretty good. This area in the middle I will be turning into, I think, a restaurant, sort of like a really big, close to the entrance restaurant, and there'll be pathways that go all the way around here to connect it to the rest of the area. So that is sort of like the area I'll be developing this episode, or at least that'll be the area for this type of, it's not a theme, like the style. I need to create some sort of barrier here for trees and like integrate the nature into this, because I do want to create a little bit of a barrier between this and that path and like the main entrance area. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I am really happy with the way that it looks though. I'm in a tree. With the way that it looks at the moment. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments of this coaster, because I'm pretty happy with it. I think this would be sort of like a big statement coaster for Premier Rides, much like I think Alpenfury will be. I do think they are a little bit of a slight underdog of a manufacturer. They do need to, I think once they nail their train design, they will really surprise us someday. Like with, I think, yeah, Alpenfury is the first, is it the first or the second Gen 3? For the Premier Rides Skyrocket, but yeah, exciting stuff. Right then, update 2. It's actually progressed quite a bit, so I did want to record this little update to kind of fill you in on what's been going on, but I forgot to mention the last update. I've added these EV chargers. It was a suggestion in the comments that I just completely forgot to add, so yeah, we now do have EV chargers. Thank you to the user on screen for this amazing workshop blueprint. They're really nice. Yeah, I've added quite a bit. There's a lot going on. I'll kind of cover least significant changes to most. Obviously, last episode we had Antonio's incredible wing coaster, and it sort of left me with this area down by the water here to add some sort of flat ride. I want to create a bit of a feature out of this area. Still don't really know what is going to be there yet. There's that path that runs along the water there, and then obviously the landscaping and stuff will bridge in the middle of that to this raised section. But yeah, there will be some sort of flat ride there. Speaking of flat rides, we have another flat ride here. Sort of, yeah, I wanted to bring this front area of the water side to life. I have made quite a big seating area here with a coffee and soda shop, and then a pizza pen and a Viva La Vegan, and then we have this big towering flat ride here. I put this in sort of to give you a time frame of when I'm making this. Intamin just announced that they, Blackpool Pleasure Beach is getting an Intamin gyro swing, and that will complement this coaster's colour scheme that's going to be going here in next episode. So that's sort of where that's coming from, and sort of this like nice raised platform as well. This section here though, with all the paths, I came with the idea for this when I was walking around Alton Towers the other day, when I did my solo trip vlog. I just love walking around like the actual landscaped parts of Alton Towers, like the gardens, so I wanted to do like a quite nice peaceful area in between what's going to be two very high thrill, probably quite noisy coasters as you can see there, but yeah, that's what that area is. I've done quite a bit more work on the coaster as well, as you'll see, but I will go into this in more detail in a second. I've added this little drinks unit here. I'm going to be copying these around the park, so I just thought it'd be a nice little addition. It's sort of like the Coke freestyle thing, but just without the Coke freestyle. It's vending machines. I've added quite a few nets underneath the parts of the coaster that cross the path, but I have got one slight weird situation which I'll talk about later that I don't know whether we'll need nets or not. We've got fountains now, and this sort of like really developed landscape section over the water. I'm really happy with the way that this looks. It's very much like, I think, probably what they were intending the water around Hyperia to look like, but it just doesn't yet. We'll watch the coaster come around over this, but I'm really happy with not only the view that you get from down here, but just how like seamlessly the coaster now blends into the park. All it took was a little bit of landscaping, and then it all just works. I just think it looks so like epic as it's flying around. It needs a good soundtrack. I need to put some speakers in this area to really bring it to life. But yeah, it just absolutely hauls around this layout. It's so cool. But yeah, this sort of like enclosed this part of the area like I mentioned in the last update. So this area, the raised up part here, there's going to be like a big indoor restaurant. It's like one of the park's main restaurants, and then loads of outdoor seating around here. This is the main entrance to this area. Like when I mentioned earlier, there is that other entrance down there, but I don't know whether I need to put some path coverings over this. I suppose it is kind of a later point on in the ride, so if you've got any loose articles, they probably would have gone by now. I will be putting a sign in that planter, but yeah, I don't know whether I will. It might sort of ruin the look. Another vending machine there. Quite a lot of like earthworks and stuff. Planted quite a few small trees because in a very rough park timeline, I think this would probably be one of the newer coasters in the park. Although I think the entrance and the wing coaster would also be very new, so I could kind of pretend that the park has just had like a new entrance sort of done. I've added the Don't Die fencing around the actual ride areas. Yeah, so the restaurant will be going there. This is the main queue that I've got going on at the moment. It's not the longest queue in the world, so I don't know whether I need any more queue. I have decided that I think this is just going to be on 2 trains, but you do get a nice bit of interaction with the coaster passing by with the queue, and it is at the end of the ride, so you'll see hopefully people's smiling faces and it'll make you even more excited. This is what the station's looking like at the moment. I have got some queue that goes underneath the station as a bit of an inside portion. I'm not going to detail this, I'm just going to leave it as like just a door, as you can see there, and you'll just go in. So you'll be able to see the guests walking through there, but yeah, it's not going to be like a player interactable queue. I need to put some sort of nice entrance sign there with the name that I would like you to comment on this video, and the path wraps around under there up to the station, and there's the path down. Obviously this is stair access only at the moment, so just like with Antonio's coaster, I added the lift on the side of the station building. I've added another lift here. I think for the other coasters in the park, I might try and integrate the lift a bit more, so it's not just looks like an add-on. But I've tried to keep a similar sort of colour palette to this station, to the entrance, because it is quite close to it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking at the moment. It's really like a big area that I'm working with this episode. Obviously, Episode 1 was like that whole car park and the entrance building. Then Episode 2 was Antonio's whole coaster and then that part, and then Episode 3 is... Yeah, there's quite a lot going on. I did have a comment, by the way, they said maybe about converting Helix Gifts into like a quick service restaurant, which would explain all of the seating around the entrance, so I might still do that. I think that is a pretty good idea, but then I'd also need to find out where the park's main gift shop's going to go, but that's a later problem. I'll see whether that materializes or not. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way that this is looking so far. I can't wait to develop it more, get it looking a lot more lively, and get this park like up and running. I'm going to get guests in soon. It's going to look a lot more lively and lived in. Really excited to continue this project. Welcome to the third and final update. I've actually done quite a bit, but there's still a lot left to do, so I wanted to do this as sort of like a nice final update before we go into obviously the final tour of the area. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this coaster's turning out. Not gonna lie, I have hit several creative blocks, but definitely in one of them now. The area... Oh, there's actually people in the park. Nice. I'm glad they've actually worked their way down to the bottom of the park as well. Oh, cool. Yeah, I added some people and just sort of make the place feel a bit more lively. But yeah, I'm liking the way it's looking so far. But it does just feel, I don't know, a bit bland. I'm sort of actively trying to find inspiration to make the area feel a bit more like, I don't know how to put it, like less Six Flagsy. I don't want it to just be a coaster plonked with like nothing around it really. I mean, it's already got more landscaping than Hyperia, so it's got that going for it, I suppose. But yeah, I do just want it to have a little bit extra something. Like when you come around here, you can sort of get a sense of, like, especially the scale of the coaster. I'll look at that element there. It absolutely towers above this area of the park, but I really want to, like, I don't know, just make it feel like it's got something a bit more. I think more foliage would probably help, but yeah, I will. I'll get back to you on what that more thing is. We do need to have a look from the sky though, so I will show you sort of how it looks from above as well, and you can get a better appreciation for what I mean. So this is sort of what we're working with at the moment as of the time of me recording this final update. Yeah, it's like this area of the park is obviously looking a bit bland. All of that area will be episode 5 after episode 4, which is where I'm going to put in the competition winners. But yeah, this is sort of what it's looking like from above. I don't hate it. Like, don't get me wrong. I like it. It's like quite a pretty area, especially this view. Like, this is obviously the main sort of focal view of it. I've got a bit of a restaurant going on here. My kind of main idea with this restaurant is that maybe like this sort of building, you get quite a nice view from down here actually, but I was sort of thinking this building was here before the coaster was, so the coaster kind of works its way around in this quite odd, like, sort of out and back shape, with most of the layout going on over there, and then that little bit on the left of your screen there. And then, yeah, sort of this coaster came in afterwards. So I've tried to make the queue line and the station building somewhat fit with the restaurant. Obviously, that's how it would work in real life. Probably it wouldn't fit exactly, but it'd fit, like, moreover. There's no interior for the station, for the queue line that runs underneath it at least. I'm not going to be doing most of the interiors in this park purely just because of how the piece count's going to be. I have put some like little wooden structures over the launch just to get like a cool head or hand chopper. I thought that could be quite cool. But yeah, sort of the actual coaster part is like pretty fixed now. I've tried to add a bit more interest with this like custom catwalk here for if you ever get rollbacks or valleys there. Hyperia should have had those. There's a little plant unit here, probably doing the electrics for the launch. And yeah, I quite like the colour scheme and the aesthetic of it. It's very pretty and like nicely presented, but yeah, I do just feel like it is missing a little something. I just don't know what that is yet. But I'll find it, I think. I will get there. I don't know whether I'm going to do any custom work on the trains. This is sort of the station looking like that so far, similar to the sort of restaurant building like I mentioned. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. I need to do some more work on the restaurant, obviously. I want to get this whole area like nicely finished for when I do, like when this episode finishes, basically. She won't leave. I'm going to do these staircase custom, but yeah, she just won't leave. There's a bit of custom work going on in the station there, as you can see. I mean, it's not finished, but I would like to sort of add some more detail to that. Obviously, I'll do the custom staircase on this side too, but yeah, sort of inside, this isn't the final product, it's just sort of where it's at in development at the moment. I love that view out of there as well. But obviously, yeah, this will be episode 3 finished after the next last update. I've done a bit detailing in here as well. I'll put the code for that chair on the screen now. Nice little desk chair that I found. I'll probably be dotting that around most of the maintenance booths in the park. The operator cabin, sorry. But yeah, that's sort of where we're leaving episode 3 after this next final update, which will be with you in a minute. And then episode 4 will be the competition entries. Can't wait. And we're back. Cedar Cove episode 3 is done. There is guests in the park. It looks a lot more lively. I like how much there's going on. I mentioned earlier about putting a soundtrack in. I do want to put a soundtrack in the entrance area and in the area for this coaster too. So that will come at some point when I get around to it. I can't lie, I've sort of rushed the last bit of this episode at least. A beautiful view of the wing coaster. Look at that. It's just because I wanted to get it out. I thought it's been, nearly a month since the previous Cedar Cove episode. Actually, no, it's been way more than a month. Just thinking about Antonio's coaster came out ages ago. But yeah, I just wanted to get this episode done so I can get the competition winners into the park, which will be episode 4. Hopefully that one will be coming to you a lot sooner than this one has. But yes, I'm very happy with the semi-final result of this coaster. It's not the final product. There's a couple of bits that I need to go back and add and sort of polish up, but it's in a good position at the moment. I am happy with it. When I mentioned about earlier sort of finding that last thing that the coaster needed to kind of like work, I think I have kind of found that now. We'll see as we walk around, but I think it really just needed more planting to sort of give it, I don't know, the sort of like thicker foliage and more trees kind of makes the ride area, or at least the paths as you're walking around, a bit cozy, if that makes sense. It sort of needed other things in the area to bring its sort of height and mass down to a more like palatable level, if that probably makes no sense. I know what I mean. It needed other things to make it not look so stark and like stand outy, which I know I want it to. I want it to be a big coaster on the skyline like it is, but at the same time I don't want it to be completely dominating of everything you see. You need nature around it to soften it. This whole area down here will be probably done in episode 5. When I add the next coaster, which will be off over there. And then this is sort of like the little wooded area that I mentioned that was sort of born from the idea of when I was walking around the gardens at Alton Towers. I just thought this park needs a lot more sort of greenery in the park as well, a place where you can chill out for a bit in case the park gets a bit overwhelming at points. So yeah, that's what that little area is for. Hopefully there'll be more areas like that in the park too, but this view here, I love this. I will put the ride name sign and that little planter in front of us when we get it. Please comment down below any suggestions for this ride's name. That would be really awesome. So yeah, I will add those at some point. The planter also, as well, with its size, that path will lead to the rest of the parks. That planter also kind of breaks up this pathway a little bit. The restaurant has a name, the Cedar Kitchen. I thought that was quite nice. I thought I'd create like a bit of a brand in the park. We can maybe have multiple Cedar Kitchens along with like other restaurants and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the coaster's looking at the moment. It's a very pretty ride. It just needed that nature and that increased planting around to really make it pop and kind of make it sit in its position in its landscape a bit more. I have added some ride photos too. I'll show you those later. I need to add a pole to that camera. It's currently floating in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, the coaster carries a lot of pace. I've had a little bit of a mess around with the friction, done another smoothing and profiling pass. I'll admit the profiling still isn't perfect. Like I said, I did rush it sort of a little bit last minute to get this episode out, so I might go around and tweak a few more bits before the next episode or the episode after that comes out. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. I've had an overwhelming amount of comments on the last episode asking, when is this part going to be on the workshop? I will put it on the workshop after the next episode. We'll have a look at the restaurant here quickly first. After all of the... Actually, no, sorry. After next episode when all the competition winners go in, and then after episode 5 when my next coaster goes in, that's when I'll put it on the workshop. So it's sort of like episode 5 seems like a nice point to put it on the workshop. I'd imagine that'll be about a quarter of the way through the series. It sort of feels like we'll be getting about 20 episodes out of this, maybe, potentially more. But yeah, that sort of feels like a nice point, episode 5, to put a copy on the workshop so you can all have a play around with it. And by that point, there'll be the wing coaster, this coaster, the 3 competition winners, and my next coaster. So that's what, like 3, 4, 5, 6 coasters for you to have a play around with. That'll be quite good. This is the restaurant here. Again, this isn't finished, but I'm really happy with the look of the building. It really sort of feels a lot more classic than the rest of the park, and like this area at least. Like I said earlier, I wanted this to be sort of feeling a bit older than the rest of the park. Like this restaurant was here before the coaster was, hence why it's such an awkward shape and it's sort of worked around it. The restaurant's not finished inside, obviously. I want to get a bit more light inside as well. It's quite dark, so I need to work on that. But yeah, pretty happy with how this restaurant's turned out, especially with its views over the coaster. I mean, just look at that. So nice. I mean, you'd never get this weather in the UK, granted, but it just looks beautiful, and I'm so happy with it. You can see the coaster absolutely flying around there. It has got a little bit of night lighting, but I will show you that in the next episode or at some point in the future when it's a lot more polished, because at the moment it isn't. But yeah, just look at the views of this coaster. You don't really realise how big it is until you stood right underneath it. I obviously, like I mentioned, need a name for this coaster, so please comment one down below and I will choose one for the next episode of Cedar Cove. What this name is of the coaster. I do think the train looks a bit bland as well, so I'll probably add it to the the front of the first car, like the name of the coaster. Might do like some nice font work or something. I've added some ride photos, like I mentioned. I found a nice spot for those. I might add like a bit of a custom graphic in the top right of that photo, like just putting text over the screen to say like whatever the ride's name called, and then like Cedar Cove or something. I was talking to Antonio about adding photos to the wing coaster too, so I think he's going to do that at some point. You just saw there was an accessible lift up the station. I'm going to be putting that on all of the rides across Cedar Cove, hopefully in a bit nicer integration for like the other coasters around the park. These are sort of just like tacked on to the side. I did mention last update or the update before that I'm not doing the interiors of most buildings. Obviously that restaurant was an exception, but I just want to save piece count, so if it's for like queues or parts of queues that go inside, I'm just not going to do it. It's just I want the park to run the best it can. So yeah, I'll see you on the other side of this queue building. Here we are, just coming out the side. Got a nice little view here of that seating area around the first launch of the coaster, and you can kind of go up here. Nice nerd shot of the transfer track. It's very nicely landscaped up here. It's sort of like pressed up against all of that existing landscaping, and then all of the trees and foliage sort of around the ride area feel very like young and new. I wanted that to really show the difference between the like aged up vegetation all around here. See the sort of windmills there. That beam seems a bit low. Might have to change that. Inside of the station, obviously it's pretty bland. Most coasters, like especially for like amusement parks, don't have the flashiest stations, apart from Antonio's wing coaster. That looks stunning. But yeah, I just wanted to keep this nice and plain. It does need a few more details, perhaps some graphics. I might put some graphic on that back wall, like a mural. I love that view. Maybe containing like the ride's name or something. So again, I'll go back and add that at some point. I was thinking about also adding some barriers across there as well, so you don't like accidentally fall out of the station. I know like a couple of coasters have some sort of gates that move, and a Ride to Happiness has them because it's quite like an elevated station. But yeah, the view from the edge of the like station platform is amazing. Look at that. So cool. I wish it was this sunny all the time. But yeah, we'll go for a ride now. I'm in a bush. We'll go for a ride on this coaster. Let me know what you think, because I'm pretty happy with it. Definitely needs a little bit of work, but yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty fun coaster. I'm really happy with it. Let's go for front row. Yeah, that was pretty cool. How was that? I really enjoyed it. I love this ride. Got some bit of a shelving situation there, going for loose articles. Obviously, the station needs a little bit more work, but I'm very happy with the coaster at least. That staff member still won't leave. I don't know how to get rid of it. I might have to delete that piece of path and put it back in. But yeah, I'm really liking all of the views you get of this coaster. It's beautifully landscaped. You've got the photos, very aggressive sign. Got the accessible entry of the photos, like I mentioned earlier. Got this pretty nice little landscaped area outside the launch there, and then, like I mentioned at the start of the episode, there's this path that leads you back around to sort of the main hub entrance area of the park. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like how close you can get to the launch as well. Not the first launch I might put the ride name up there, actually, look quite nice. I like how close you can get to this first launch. I've put a couple of canopies over it, obviously, so any loose articles in that first element won't fall into the path, but yeah, I really like the views you get of it. Speeding down that launch section there and then up into that first huge main element. It's crazy. Yeah, but I'm pretty happy with this coaster. Like I mentioned, the park will be available to download after episode 5, and the soundtrack for this area will come at some point as well. Those are my two main things I wanted to cover, because I know I'll definitely get comments about them, but any other suggestions for this area or just the rest of the park in general are definitely welcome, so please do let me know in the comments. I am planning on adding a main park gift shop at some point, so I probably will turn Helix Gifts at the top there into a restaurant to serve all of those seats around the entrance. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. If you look at this view sort of here, it's very well landscaped already. Just ignore that random piece of path, I'm thinking about putting a bridge there. But this sort of view here, it sort of is looking nearly complete. I do like the way it looks, it's very nicely landscaped. I think it goes quite nicely with Antonio's coaster now that it's got a neighbour. Obviously this one's a lot more compact than Antonio's. This is the very out and back coaster, but it needed to be. It was a landmark coaster for the park's entrance. For the next couple of episodes, this area, along with the swinging flat ride, will be episode 5. Before that, episode 4 will be the competition winners, which will be somewhere in this park. I need to work out where they're going to go. At the time of recording this, I have already announced the winners, so I know where they're going. Please go and watch that video if you haven't already to find out who has won my biggest competition yet and the entries that will be going into the park in the next episode. But that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave you with a tiny little tease of something I'm working on but didn't quite make it into this episode. Goodbye.